Recording. Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining me this Thursday afternoon to go through our pig production workshop. So this workshop is attached to a quiz which will be available at 5:30 this afternoon, and it will close on Thursday the 27th of May. You guys may have accessed the notes for this practical. If you did it at around 1:30, you should have the 2021 notes, but there was a glitch in LMS and the notes from last year, which are labelled Pig Prac Notes 2020, might have been up. So maybe just check the version of the notes that you have, and if you don't have the 2021, you can access that now. So apologies for that. The way this is going to run is that we'll do a couple of videos first to look at a pig farm, because obviously not practical to bring all you guys onto a pig farm, so we'll bring a pig farm to you, and then we'll go through some calculations. So I know you guys have been doing a lot of calculations in your workshop up until this point, and I apologize for adding more into the mix, but hopefully the key to this workshop working is that everyone participates and has a go. So really don't worry if you're getting the wrong answer. It doesn't matter. It's more about thinking about it, and then I can guide you in the right direction. But it doesn't really work if everyone remains silent, just waiting for the answer. Okay, so with that, I will start the video. Just let me know if there's any sound or visual quality issues while the video is playing.
What we're going to try and do today is take you on a bit of a journey on how we look after pigs. The first stage of the journey is to make sure that you've got your girls in good condition and healthy and ready to have a pregnancy. And then the next stage is to try and get them pregnant. Pigs cycle every 21 days, but when they come on heat, they'll start showing little signs. They'll be very interested in other animals. They will be very interested in you. And there are two main ways that we can inseminate a sow. Firstly, by natural means, using a boar and supervise a boar mating. And secondly is by artificial insemination. The vast majority of people in Australia use artificial insemination because one boar can get pregnant anything up to 30 to 40 sows. And the second reason I like it too is because boars can be a bit energetic in his courting of the sow, and they can actually hurt them sometimes. The reason why we've gone to mating stalls for 5 days is that a sow can go into a stall, she'll be protected from any other animals. People like group housing for sows, and it's a wonderful thing, but when sows are coming on and off heat, they'll be annoying each other and sometimes, you know, beaten up by the others. So if you have them in a stall, away from all the others, nothing else can touch them. They're fed and there's water, and they're perfectly safe there. It's much easier to test for pregnancy in this day and age than it was, 15, 20 years ago, because these days we use real-time ultrasounds to pregnancy test sows at about 4 weeks. At 3 weeks, you can also use, because boars are very, very good at picking up sows that are coming on heat. People tend to run a teaser boar in front of the sows, and if they're coming on heat, her ears will go up and she'll stand there, because the smell of a boar to a sow on heat is irresistible. At the end of 2010, industry took, I guess, a good hard look at what we do. We voluntarily decided to move away from sow stalls by 2017, and I'm very proud of what we've done. So after 5 days in a mating stall, the sows are put into loose housing. And that can mean many different things. It can mean a situation like this, where sows go onto straw. It can mean small pens of 3 to 5 sows. It can be huge sheds of anything up to 50 to 100 sows. But it means sows are in a group and they can interact together. And they will stay there and just before they're due to give birth. To manage sows in groups takes quite a bit of expertise, and that's why we have spent so much money in research, because even though these aren't pets, we enjoy looking after them, and we want to make sure that they are looked after to the best of our ability. We have got a duty of care to these animals, and we will deliver. There are many things that we need to be aware of to make sure that we optimise to look after a sow in pregnancy. The first is feed. Most people have specialist nutritionists involved that specify how the feed is made up and what ingredients are in there. Make sure she gets fed to what she needs and what her growing litter needs. Secondly, there's the pig health. Pig specialist veterinarians assist farmers to look after the health of all the pigs on their farms. They help them decide what vaccines are important and what time they're vaccinated. And that protects not only the health of the sow, but it prepares the health of the litter inside her.
Okay, did that sound quality was okay for you guys? Yep, cool. Thanks, Storm. Okay, so I've got another video on progeny pigs, and then we can have a bit of a comment/question session if required. So I'll just share again.
We've looked after the sows, they're well and truly pregnant, and now comes the next stage of the journey, which is the birth process or the farrowing process. When the sows are close to giving birth, they are moved into small individual pens that we like to call piglet protection pens. Now, there are many different types of piglet protection pens, but the one thing they have in common is that they protect the piglet from the potential of being smothered. But it also allows us to give individual treatment to the piglets and individual treatment to the sow. Now, a lot of people don't like the idea of a piglet protection pen. They say that it restrains the sow too much, and they would like to see all pigs outdoors and free range. That's a wonderful thought, but unfortunately, there's only certain parts of Australia that is really good for outdoor farms because of the soil type and because of the heat and the environment. One of the things we do not long after birth is top off the pig's teeth, just their eye teeth. It's not the whole lot of their teeth, and you just take the tips off the 8 eye teeth. And the reason why people do this is because when the piglets are scrambling for teeth, they'll nip the other ones just through grabbing and trying to establish their dominance over a teat, and they leave little scratches and marks on their faces. Now, this may not seem like much, but it provides an access point to the pig for a bacteria, and it can lead to dying. Tail docking is done to try and prevent cannibalisation of the tails by other pigs. The tails are not clipped entirely. You leave a little bit of length on them, but just enough to stop the other pig. The weaning of a piglet is when you remove the piglet from the sow and they go on to the next stage of their life. Now, this can occur anywhere between 3 to 5 weeks of age. In this weaning accommodation, they have specialised feed, they have specialised shelter to make sure they're well and truly looked after. After weaning, the pigs are referred to as weaners. And the next stages include growers and then pre-sale. These all refer to pig's life. and the pigs will be treated a little bit differently at each stage. On some farms, this occurs all in the same shed. On another farm, they get moved from shed to give them more room or to take advantage of the feeding system. At each stage of their life, they receive specialised diets which are suitable for that age and that weight of pigs, and they change as the pigs grow older.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments around those videos? I mean, most of that stuff we've covered in lecture, but hopefully those videos help consolidate that information. No, okay. So we'll move on to the next section. So I'm just going to share my screen, which will bring up the notes that we're referring to. And it will ask the question. So this is the cost of production and pig flow exercise section of the practical. So cost of production exercise. So you guys should already be familiar with the definition of a fixed and a variable cost. So just to refresh your memories, a fixed cost is a cost that doesn't change no matter how many pigs you produce per week. So that would be things like your mortgage or lease on the facilities that you have, the veterinary care, the progeny feed, oh sorry, not the progeny, the breeder feed, the breeder vaccinations, the insurances that you have to pay, etc. Then our variable costs are costs that change with the number of progeny pigs we're selling per week. So that will be the feed for those progeny pigs, the medical requirements, so medications and vaccinations, and then levies. And we spoke about it in lectures, but the levies will go partly to research and partly to marketing. So here we have a scenario with a 400 sow farrow to finish farm. The sows are mated in stalls and then they go into group housing on straw at 6 weeks of gestation. They're in conventional farrowing crates for farrowing and lactation, and then the piglets are weaned into eco shelters. So the progeny pigs are sold as baconers, so around 100 kilos live weight, and the farm sells around 93 baconers a week. The fixed cost for this farm is $10,000 per week. And the variable costs, which are described per pig, $4 per pig for the levies. Our progeny health is $7 per pig, and our progeny feed is $110 per pig. I apologise for my dogs barking in the background there. So with that information, are you guys able to have a go at calculating the cost of production per pig? I'm going to stop sharing now. What we can do is I'll put the whiteboard up, and you guys are free to brainstorm there, or you can put your messages in the chats on the side. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to have a think or have a go at that. And anyone yell out if you just feel completely lost about where to start on this. So yep, total variable cost per pig will be 121, spot on. And then can someone work out the fixed cost per pig? Total overall cost per production per pig, 10,121. Ooh, that's quite an expensive pig to produce. I don't think that farm would be very profitable. Remember, our $10,000 is per week. So how many pigs are we selling a week? Yes, 10,000 divided by 93, which equals 107.53. Perfect. So 107.53 or 50 for our fixed costs, and then our variable costs are 121 per pig. So for total cost of production per pig is, yeah, perfect, 228.53. Okay, so let's move. So hopefully everyone's with me. Thank you for those of you who are writing up there. So my next, I'm going to share it again just because it's easier. Okay, so the current price of pork is $3.77 per kilo, and the producer has to pay a $12 processing fee at the abattoir. Can we calculate the per annum profit for selling 93 pigs a week? Now, a little clue here, remember that we're selling 100 kilos live weight, but the producer isn't going to get paid for those 100 kilos. Yes, how do we know the dress? Does anyone remember what the dressing weight is for a pig? It's 70%. Yep, thanks, Felicity, well done. So the producer would be getting paid for 70 kilos per pig. So do people want to have a go at working out our per annum profit for selling 93 pigs a week, sorry. Yep, so $3.77 times 70, $63.90. Yep, and then remember that $12 processing fee per pig. Yep, 100 kilo live weight equals paid for 70 kilo per pig. Spot on. So with this one here, we just have to, yep, perfect. Thank you. $2, oh not $2, $251.90 per pig is what the producer gets paid. Now, they're not going to get all of that money because we have our total cost of production per pig. So then can we work out the profit per pig? Yep, 251.90 minus 228.50. Yep, perfect. So what profit does that give us per pig? 24.88. Yep. So then can we work out our per annum profit? Yep. Remember, we're not selling one, for this comment here, we're not selling one pig a week, we're selling 93 pigs a week. Yep, so that's our profit per week. And then what's our profit per annum? Yep, we're on the right track there. Yep, calculations look right. Very good. Okay, so not too bad to be a pig producer. So if we look at the next section, So I guess the main purpose for us as consultants or veterinarians for the pig industry, as I said in the first lecture, is to try and reduce cost of production while also maximising welfare. So when we go onto a farm as a nutritionist or a consultant or a veterinarian, what is the number one thing that we can improve with respect to reducing cost of production? So what is our, when we think back to our lectures, what did I say was the biggest percentage in terms of, yes, feed is the most expensive. Yes, so preventing loss of pigs through disease and other health issues, perfect. So not only preventing loss of pigs, but also the immune system's a hungry beast. So therefore, even if we just have sick pigs, then our feed efficiency is not going to be as good. And because feed is the most expensive variable, that's really where we have room to reduce our cost of production. So things like improving our environment or our health status, our hygiene, our biosecurity can really have an impact on our feed efficiency. Now, I'm going to give you the same scenario, but instead of our progeny feed being 110 per pig, let's say, so this figure here, let's say we went on farm and we identified a few areas for the farm to improve on, and it actually meant that our pigs finished earlier. So they reached 100 kilo live weight 1 week sooner, which therefore reduced our progeny feed to $104.50 per pig. So I'll just write that on the blackboard. So our new progeny feed cost is $104.50 per pig. So can we recalculate our per annum profit and see how much more money we can make for the producer if we're able to find these efficiencies? Yep, new variable cost is $115.50. Perfect. So then how does that impact on our profit? $251.90 minus $15.50. So the variable that changed, Carla, is our progeny feed. So just on the whiteboard here, the new progeny feed cost is $104.50 per pig. Yeah, feed cost reduced, cool. So just with this calculation here, remember we still have to put in our fixed costs. So yeah, so our new variable cost is 15. Let's write it up here, equals dollars 115, whoopsie, 115.50, and then plus our fixed cost, which is still 107.50, I think we said it was. So therefore, our new cost of production is 223 per pig. Yep. Yeah, total costs 223. Perfect. Okay, so now can we work out, we're still getting paid the same amount of money for each pig, so we're still getting paid 251.90. So therefore, our new profit, yep, is 28.90 essentially. Yep, thank you everyone. So then what does that work out to in terms of a per annum profit? Yep, times 93 times 52. And what do we get? Yep, 139,000. Perfect. Thank you, Storm. Spot on. So, I get 139,000. So yeah, cool. So if we think back to what our previous profit was when our progeny feed was 110 per pig, we've actually made the producer 26,500 more dollars by feeding the pigs for 1 week less. So finding efficiencies, meaning that they can reach that live weight quicker, which is a pretty remarkable profit for such. I mean, it is a significant improvement, but not impossible. And the other thing I wanted to say was that, of course, these figures are somewhat fictitious, but they are roughly based on what the true costs of a farm of this size would be. Okay, I hope that point of finding improvements in feed conversion ratio resonates with you guys. So if that makes sense to everyone, then we'll move on to the next calculation, which I'm sorry to say is probably a little bit more complicated, but I have all the faith in you that you'll be able to do it. So let's just go to our notes. Okay, so this is a pig flow exercise. So we haven't really touched on this at all in any of our lectures, so I will certainly help you through it. So your friend has just purchased a piggery, woohoo, and they're still quite new to pig production and they need your help to guide them through some flow. So the piggery layout is as follows. So we have our weaner shed, which has got 90 meters squared living space. Our grower shed has 145 and finisher is 200. We have a farrowing house with 15 farrowing crates and then a dry sow area and a mating shed. So your friend wants to wean at 4 weeks of age, which is great. The later the better. Your friend then wants to keep the weaners in the shed until they're about 30 kilos, which should be around 10 weeks of age. And then they're going to move to the grower shed until they're 60 kilos, and then the finisher shed until they're 100 kilos. So if you look at that, you should be able to see if the pigs are getting weaned at 4 weeks of age and then they go into the weaner shed. They then spend 6 weeks total in the weaner shed, then they spend 6 weeks total in the grower, and then 6 weeks in the finisher. So your friend has a buyer for 100 kilo live weight pigs, but the buyer wants to know how many pigs you reckon your friend can supply a week, and then how many sows do we need to mate to get this number. So the information that we need for this calculation is the Model Code of Practice space allowance recommendations and then some performance parameters. So on this farm, we estimate the farrowing rate to be around 83%, which is not great as far as farrowing rates go, but it's a new farm. Then we reckon our average born alive will be 10 piglets per litter. Once again, not great figures, but still your friend's quite new to this. And then a pre-weaning mortality of 10% and a post-weaning mortality of 5%. So I know that's a lot of information. Is there any brave soul out there that just wants to have a stab in terms of where you would start with a problem like this? Yeah, so good. So looking at our model code, we're going to work off, I'm going to say 0.3 meters squared per weaner. So before we get into the depths of this calculation, I just want to point out that, of course, there's lots of factors that we're not considering in this calculation. It's a very rough back of the envelope just to get a starting point for your friend. Because I've said before, even though the model code says this amount for space allowance, you've got to look at what the animals are telling you. So I just want to point that out. We're also not factoring in time for cleaning or rest period for cleaning, etc. Hospital pens, all that sort of hoo-ha. But this is just very rough. So yeah, Storm has made a good point that we've got for our space allowances. Perfect. Yes. Whoever said the 90 divided by 0.3, that is a very good starting point. So 90, for those of you not following, is the space allowance in our weaner shed. So then we're working out how many weaners we can have in the shed. I would just work with 0.3 for ease. So I would do 90 divided by 0.3. And that should give us around 300 weaners. So that calculation tells us the maximum number of weaner pigs we can have in that shed at any one time. Can someone do the same for growers and finishers? So for our grower, we should have 145. Yep, 145 divided by, yep, 303 finishers, yep, and 308 growers. Cool. So when we look at those figures, I'm just going to delete what I started writing. So when we look at 300 weaners, 308 growers, and 303 finishers, we have to use the lowest number because we can't, even though we can fit 308 growers in the grower shed, we can't fit 308 weaners in the weaner shed, so we have to go with our smallest number. So therefore, okay, we can fit 300 weaners in the shed. Remember, they're in the shed for 6 weeks at a time. So how many pigs can we have in our weekly batches? So I'm working off, instead of working off 0.29 meters squared, I'm working off 0.3 meters squared, so 90 divided by 0.3 equals 300. No, you don't need to know the model code of practice things. Okay, so how many pigs can we produce per week if we're working with 300 weaners or 300 maximum in the sheds at any one time? Well, 300 divided by 6 rather than times 6. So we've got 300 in the shed. So then divide by 6 equals 50 pigs. Yep, someone's written that there. Cool. Good job. Okay, so we need to produce 50 pigs a week. Now, what is the next thing that we need to factor in with our calculation? So if we go back to our how many sows, yes, yep. Mortality rate, yes, we need to consider our mortality rates. So we want to finish with 50 pigs, so we have to work our way backwards, okay? So our post-weaning mortality rate, so the mortality rate that happens across the weaner, grower, finisher sheds is 5%. So if we have 50 pigs going in and lose 5%, we're not going to have our goal going out. So how do we work out how many we need going into the weaner shed, assuming we're going to lose 5%? Where did the 6 come from? So the 6 came from the fact that the pigs are spending a total of 6 weeks in the shed. So therefore, each batch per week we divide by 6. So 300 divided by 6. Probably, so rather than working with 300, remember we're working with 50 pigs. Fifty divided by 0.06. Just wondering where that 0.06 came from. Oh, 0.05. Yeah. What does that give us? $2.5. Yep. So we can't. Yeah, 50. Yeah, that's it. So we can't really have 2.5 pigs. So yep, 3. So therefore, we want to start with 53 pigs in a weekly batch going into the weaner shed. Is everyone with me? Yeah. So 3 plus 50. So then now we have to do the same calculation with our pre-weaning mortality. So, but instead of using 50, use 53. How will the extra pigs fit in the shed? Yes, that is a very good question, Naomi. So I guess, yeah, we are anticipating those extra pigs to die, but of course we don't know when they are going to die. So this is what I mean by this is just a really rough calculation, and you would have to accommodate some wriggle room in there. But the point of the exercise is just to sort of think about pig flow. But it's a very good point. Okay, so does anyone have, once we factor in our pre-weaning mortality, what does that give us? I'm just going to use my calculator. Yep, 5.3, so 53 times 0.1, so you can't have 5.3 pigs, so 6 pigs, 6 extra pigs. So therefore, it's going to be 3 plus 6, which means that we need to start with 59 piglets to end up, yes, pre-weaning mortality rate is 10%. We need to start with 59 piglets to end up with 50 at the end. Yep. Now, if we want to produce 59 piglets and our average number of piglets per litter born alive is 10, how many matings do we have to have? Six. Thank you, Storm. Yep, spot on. Now, 6 matings will produce our 60 piglets, but saying that, remember that our farrowing rate is not 100%. So if we mate 6 sows, only 83% of them will be successful matings. So therefore, we have to figure out how many sows we have to mate for the total number of successful matings to be 6. Yeah. 7.2. Yeah, so 8. Perfect. 6 divided by, yep, I think that is how that's how I worked it out, Felicity. For those of you, this is probably maybe one of the harder calculations to understand, so I'll just explain it to you. The way I tend to understand it is by using a little bit of algebra. So if we say our farrowing rate is 83%, if we multiply that by 6, which is our 6 matings, we get 4.98%, which is obviously, we get 4.98 successful matings, which is obviously not what we want. So what we want to do is we want to figure out this number, so we turn that into x, and then we want the answer to be 6 matings. Okay, so then we have to use a little bit of algebra to jiggle that equation around. So then it goes x equals 6 divided by 0.83. Okay, I hope that helps you guys in terms of people who might be not following how we got there. So yeah, 8 matings a week. Now, if we look at our farrowing shed setup, can we accommodate that? So what does our farrowing shed look like again, or farrowing house? We've got 50 crates in there. Yeah. And remember, we're going to wean piglets at 4 weeks of age. So each crate is going to be occupied for 4 weeks. So how many crates can we use a week? Uh, 6.25. How did you do? Oh, so it should be, okay. So in terms of how many we can actually use, it should be 50 divided by 4, because they're in there, yeah, 12 and a half. So if we're only mating 8 sows, then we're well within range in terms of using that farrowing house. Cool. That's the calculation. If anyone has any questions, just type them in there. But that is officially the end of the practical. Just another reminder that there's a quiz associated with this. The quiz includes the lecture material as well as material covered in today's practical. So it's the answer to the question, yes, eight matings a week to get our approximately 50 pigs per week to sell. That is the answer. And yes, our farrowing house can accommodate that. Cool. So I'll say thank you guys, but of course I'll stay on the line for the next few minutes for any further questions. Thank you. Thanks, Storm. Thanks, Naomi. Thanks, Damien. Thanks, guys.